Morning, everyone. You can see my setting today is with our lovely obedient dogs who are nice and quiet. That is, of course, a photograph in the background. So I wanted to start with a story, a true story that happened many years ago now. It was at the end of Eileen's first year of being a teacher, just a young teacher. I think we were both aged 22. Somehow or other, she and subsequently I got invited to help with looking after some teenage children on a trip to France. So we went off with a good number of youngsters across age groups, I guess, from 13 to 15. And on one of the days that we were there, we went to the Eiffel Tower. As it happened, Eileen had to stay with some of the girls that were unwell, and I went with this rather unreliable older teacher. And we went up the Eiffel Tower. We arrived in good time, and there were 50 children, and we went up to pretty much the top of it. Enjoyed it, got some great views, got back, and when we got on board the bus, the tour guide counted everybody on. 1, 2, 3, and then they got to 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Remember, we had 50. And so she said, right, that's okay, let's go. And I said, well, hold on a minute, we've only got 49. And she said, 49 out of 50 is not bad. Well, I wonder what was wrong with that thinking. Sometimes 49 out of 50 isn't bad. But when it's 49 out of 50 children, we worry about them, don't we? And of course, we had to take action. I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that we didn't actually leave until we found the 50th child. So this story came to mind as I was reading some posts on Facebook. People saying, why don't we focus on the positive that's happening? Why don't we focus on how many people are surviving this terrible virus? Why don't we just get on with it and ignore all the bad things, because there's so many good things, and after all, and they said 98.5% of people recover. Only 1.5% don't recover. And then I thought, because if that were the case for the whole country, it'd mean about 1 million people would die. So the 1 in 100 story is really applicable today, that we have to focus not on the 99 that are safe, leave them in the safe country, but go and find those that are lost, those that need help. The context of this story is really interesting. It says, now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus. That's the lost sheep, if you like. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Effectively, they were saying, why don't you eat with the righteous people, the people who are keeping to the law, those that are godly? And Jesus tells them this story. The story of the 1 out of 100 that the shepherd went to look for. Of course, the shepherds of biblical times didn't operate in the same way as shepherds today with quad bikes and dogs. Rather, the shepherd of that day was recognized by his sheep. They recognized his voice, and he could call them all by name. And so the shepherd that we hear about in this story is one who cared deeply about his sheep individually. And when he needs to, he goes out to find the one that's lost. It's not that he thought less of the 99, but he really cared for the one that was lost. And so it's clear from the context that Jesus is saying to the Pharisees, to the religious people, to the keepers of the law, that yes, he cares about them, but he cares about those who are spiritually lost, the sinners, the tax collectors. And elsewhere, of course, we recognize that we are all in that category, because none of us are righteous enough. None of us have got a clean bill of health when it comes to sin, and that we're all sinners and tax collectors. And Jesus says, sit down and eat with me. He cares about us. He wants to hear from us. And so what does it say to us just now in the middle of the pandemic? Well, I think one of the things it says is it's great to have the Rock and similar things all around the country. People are using Zoom till it's zoomed out. Last week, apparently, those that were having Zoom meetings for their church, the system crashed on Sunday morning because they were doing maintenance work, because it's gone from 10 million users to 300 million users. Imagine 30 times as many people coming into your shop, and that gives the size of the problem. And people are really blessed. I hope that those of us listening today will find all of this that we're doing really helpful in helping us to grow as disciples. But it's important for us not to lose sight of the fact that Jesus said he's here for that extra sheep, that lost sheep. And so as we think about how we react to this story, it isn't so much about how we've been saved, which we have, but rather about how we can be Jesus to other people, people that don't know his name. How can we, in the midst of being locked down and with social distancing and all the rest of it, how can we show the love of Jesus to others? Now, there's lots and lots of ways that we can do that. Things that we can do together. There's things we can do by service. There's things we can do in prayer. There's things that as we grow as disciples, Jesus will use us more. But I would encourage us always to have sight of the fact that we're not here for our own benefit. Even if things are good and we enjoy it, and I hope we do, we're here to reach out to show the love of Jesus to others. And so we're going to spend some time in prayer, remembering those that have looked out for us and hopefully how we can look out for others. Be inspired. Encourage each other, I pray. So until we meet again, I'll say goodbye and we'll pray. Father God, as we meet together today, we do want to remember those who you've laid on our hearts, that even in the midst of this virus time, that we don't forget people that we want to pray for, that you've laid on our hearts. Help us to reach out to them in this troubled times. In your name, Lord. Amen.